I read the book Everybody Always by Bob Goff. The genre is religion and spirituality. This book was published in 2018. A similar book is Love Does by Bob Goff. Overall, I'd rate this book an 8 out of 10, and I'd recommend it to Christians who want to hear interesting stories on how God worked in others' lives, specifically in this book, Bob Goff. Bob is an interesting and a joyful guy. He's a lawyer and flies planes in his free time. He sets up his book in the format of short stories. Although his chapters don't have any kind of order, they always lead back to the main idea of loving everyone and becoming the kind of person who is love in a world full of difficult people. In chapter 6, Bob and his son go skydiving. Bob was absolutely terrified while his son skydives all the time and told him not to worry. While Bob was in the airplane, before he jumped, he thought about God and questioned if God jumped out of heaven, came as Emmanuel, because he wanted God to be with us. In chapter 2, Bob mentioned his old neighbor Carol. Carol was his favorite person. She ended up having cancer, and Bob prepared her for dancing in heaven with Jesus. Bob and Carol had a really strong friendship. He even still wears a baseball cap with the Red Sox on it in memory of her. Bob mentioned God doesn't just give promises, he gives us each other. Chapter 3 is called Love Everyone Always. Bob Goff makes it clear that acceptance of people is extremely hard but so worth it. While chapter 4, The Yellow Truck, as a reader, you learn to turn towards God and not away from him. One quote that I really liked in this book is, "We don't usually need all the plans we make. Sure, plans can help from time to time, but planning to love others is different than just loving people." I really like this quote because in society, I think a lot of people are all talk. They say they're going to do something or want something, but they never take action in doing it. Another quote that I really liked was, meeting someone who is hard to get along with, think about, can I love that person for the next 30 seconds? I really like this quote because sometimes we find it hard to get along with people, but it's important to show your love and kindness to everyone. As a believer, we should all be able to become love in a world full of difficult people. No one said being a Christian's easy. There are 24 short chapters in the book, and you can finish it relatively quick. Because the chapters are so short, it can lead to so many questions, such as on page 42. The ones I see as problems, God sees as sons and daughters, made in his image. The ones I see as difficult, he sees as delightfully different. I question that because there are several people doing wrong actions and who are sinful. So what does that look like when you're really looking into the full meaning of becoming love? Bob Goff never really got into answering those questions for me. The last 6 chapters of the book, Bob Goff continued a long story. He doesn't usually write like this. He enjoys sticking to short stories. Personally, I like that he stuck to a long story and got into detail. I wish he wrote all his books in so much more depth. He really tackled all the questions I had. The last 6 chapters of the book were really important in the book because it shows that Bob and his family truly go out of their way to show God's love and stick out of the norms of society. This is where I believe the book is at its strongest. Something that I caught myself with when reading the book is getting frustrated because the book was so simplistic in the beginning, but towards the end, I found myself being convicted by the simplicity. Again, this book is Everybody Always by Bob Goff. I liked this book because it was so joyful and a short, interesting read. I'd rate this book an 8 out of 10, and I think all Christians would enjoy this book, or anyone who is interested in Christianity. I believe all ages could read Everybody Always. This book was good in my eyes because when you read it, it feels like you know the author on a personal level.